and welcome to week 8. This is an explanation for the activities for this week. You're viewing the video, that's the first activity. You're well on your way to completing the work for this week. Our second activity is our social emotional learning activity. You're going to be looking at the social emotional culture Anchor Competencies Resource Guide. This is the hard copy of it. You're, of course, will be looking at the electronic, which is the exact same thing, only it's in electronic form. And you're going to be familiarizing yourself with this guide by perusing the 7 anchor competencies. And if you have forgotten about the anchor competencies, we have worked with this framework, this wheel of anchor competencies. The anchor competencies include building trusting relationships, fostering self-reflections, fostering growth mindset, cultivating perseverance, creating community, promoting collaborative learning, and responding constructively across differences. You're going to select one of those from this resource guide, and you're going to pick 2 resources, because under each anchor competency there are a lot of resources, but you're going to pick 2, and then you're going to share a little description of that link that you're going to link to the Google Slides presentation that you see right here. I'm going to put the cursor over it, so if you click on that, it will come up. It will come up with the link to this, as well to the guide, as well as to the framework. So you have those both at your fingertips, and you're going to pick one of the social emotional culture anchor competencies. Find 2 resources from that guide, and you're going to post those links and share a little information about the resource that you learned and how you might use that resource with your students in your classroom as you're working on the social emotional learning curriculum. Now, you may get to this activity after some of your colleagues have already written on the one slide. You can create another slide. You have editing privileges on this slide presentation, so you can add another slide to that competency. I have included 1 slide per competency so far, but you may need to add another slide. You're more than welcome to do that. Now, as we move into the topic for this week, we're going to be looking at civics education. So you're going to read the first half of this chapter this week, which is chapter 11. It's pages 338 through 355. You're going to read the remainder of the chapter next week, or you're welcome to read the whole chapter, and you don't have to. You can maybe familiarize yourself with the second part next week, but you only need to read the first part this week to respond to these next activities. Again, the focus is on civics education, so you're going to respond to the following questions and post your work in this Dropbox. Then you are to add comments, some ideas, thoughts, or affirmations to 2 of your colleagues' postings. So what encompasses the study of civics in elementary school social studies? Why is civics important for this age group? This is elementary school. How does civics education fit into the social studies curriculum? And have you ever had any encounters with civic education that you might have observed either in school settings or in your own experience or in your own education to support this emphasis? We're going to take a look at character education this week. That's on page 349. And you have a choice of to select one of the following. You're either going to locate a children's literature online of a notable character who displayed outstanding positive traits such as honesty, leadership, and compassion. And you're going to post the image of the book, a brief synopsis of the story, and how you determined the character was courageous, and how you might use that in the classroom for character education. Or you can locate an idea or a lesson sketch. It doesn't have to be a lesson plan, and you're not creating a lesson plan, but it's a lesson plan you found online or a lesson idea that teaches a civic decision-making skill to discuss a contentious issue in a safe classroom environment free from judgment and criticism, and to effectively use that skill from the lesson in real life civic situations. So you have a choice here. If you do both, guess what? You get extra credit. You're going to post your response to one or both of these, depending on if you want some extra credit this week. I love giving extra credit. You can certainly do both, but one is what is the requirement this week. And last but not least, for your independent activities, you're going to organize a democratic classroom. So take a look at the textbook on pages 342 through 348, or any of the resources below, or your research. Create either a virtual classroom, a classroom diagram, or any other visual, and link or label your work to incorporate the following: a little description of your democratic classroom, how you involve your students in the creation of classroom rules, several classroom procedures, and share how you will introduce those procedures to your students, and your use of classroom meetings. That information is all in the chat in the chapter in the textbook here on the pages that I've designated here. Make sure all of your ideas represent those of a democratic teacher who is authoritative, an authoritative facilitator versus an authoritarian. Okay, and that's information is on page 343, and you should be able to differentiate between those two. You will then post your visual in this Dropbox, and of course, comment on 2 of your colleagues' postings. You are to return to your work at the end of the week, read your colleagues' comments, and write a response to their comments if they've written to you. So there's a little bit extra work to do in regards to having to take a look at Blackboard twice this week, just to see if you do have any comments about your democratic classroom. If you do, please respond. And those are your independent activities. I'm going to take you to the group activity. There is one group activity. Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong folder. I will click back. I put your group work first, so maybe you will do that first before you do your independent work. Anyways, each member of the group will select one of the following items and research a resource that best represents the item and post it in a creative document in this Dropbox. Be sure to explain why the resource was selected and how it relates to the importance of national identity. You will find national identity on pages 353 through 356. So one person will find a lesson plan that's instructing the national symbols. Again, you don't have to create this lesson plan. There are so many out there, so you don't have to worry about the educational studies template. The second person, or another person in the group, will select an image and a resource of the flag of the United States, the seal of the United States, the national bird, and the national flower. The third person will look for an image and a resource of national mottos, the Liberty Bell, the Statue of Liberty, the national anthem. The fourth person will find a resource to support the national holidays. And the fifth person will look for resource or resources to promote values and principles of American democracy. The group needs to select how best to post the identified resources in one document that's not only visually appealing, but also very informative. Each member of the group should then post the same document to receive credit for this group work. So you all will have to talk about what you might want, how you might want to put all this information together that each member has found, and then in what kind of document. It has to be visually appealing, and each member of the group should post this document. So whoever decides to put that all together needs to send that out to their group to make sure their group does, because you will not get credit if you don't post it under your name in the group. Now, one group has only 4 members. They can just create 1 through 4. They don't need to worry about 5. If that group decides to do 5, I could give them some extra credit because they're lacking 1 person in the group. But you don't need to. That's up to you as a group. Otherwise, all the other groups do have 5 members. You should all participate. That is the expectation, is to participate in the group work and hold in your responsibility to getting your part done. That is the activities, independent and group work this week. The integrated lesson plan is due this week as well, so please take a look at that assignment on the major assignments folder on the main menu in Blackboard. And as always, if you have any questions about any of the work, the activities, or the major assignment, Please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you online. Have a great week.